Humans don't fight wars because they'd win too easily, declared Professor Tack, his voice laced with both disbelief and a hint of admiration. The room fell silent, save for the faint hum of the ventilation system. Rows of alien students hailing from a dozen star systems exchanged confused glances, their eyes narrowing in a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. The seminar room at the Galactic University of Old Torah was known for its rigorous discussions on interspecies ethics, but today's topic had taken everyone by surprise. One student, a young SDHN with pale blue skin and intricate facial markings denoting his status as a warrior novice, raised a hand, his tentacle-like fingers twitching in agitation. "Professor, surely you jest. Humans avoiding war? This is the species that wiped out entire ecosystems on their own planet just to grow food more efficiently. They're known for their violent history, their relentless conquest. Why would they suddenly restrain themselves?" Professor Tack, a towering Zorian with a metallic sheen to his skin, leaned back in his chair, his many eyes blinking in unison. He had anticipated this reaction. Young Talk, your skepticism is expected, but allow me to explain. Humans are unique in ways that defy the typical evolutionary patterns we've observed across the galaxy. He activated a holodisplay with a wave of his hand, filling the air with a three-dimensional image of Earth. The planet rotated slowly, showing its vast blue oceans, green continents, and swirling clouds. You see, humans come from a world that is both abundant and treacherous. Their evolution was shaped by a constant struggle against the environment, against each other. And yet, despite their history of conflict, they have reached a point where they choose not to engage in war, even when provoked. A murmur spread through the classroom. The idea seemed preposterous. War was a natural extension of a species' desire to survive and dominate. To avoid it was to show weakness, or so many of them thought. Talk wasn't convinced. "Professor, with all due respect, this sounds like the propaganda the Terran diplomat spread. How could a species with such advanced technology, with the capability to obliterate planets, simply abstain from using it? There's no honor in that." Tack's eyes flashed with an intensity that silenced the murmuring. "It's not about honor, Talk. It's about mercy." The word hung in the air, foreign and almost blasphemous to the students who had been raised in cultures that glorified battle and conquest. "Mercy," another student, a thick-shelled Kron with a voice like grinding stones, echoed the word, his tone skeptical. "Mercy is a weakness, a failure to seize power when one has the advantage." "For many species, yes," Tack agreed. "But humans view it differently. They have the capability to wage wars that would result in utter annihilation, but they choose not to, not because they lack the will or the power, but because they have something else, a sense of responsibility, a reluctance to cause unnecessary suffering." He let the holodisplay shift, showing images from human history, great wars, devastating weapons, and finally scenes of reconstruction, peace treaties, and alliances. Throughout their history, humans have learned that the cost of war is often too high, not just in terms of resources or lives, but in the toll it takes on the soul of their species. They've come to understand that with great power comes great responsibility. The students were silent, absorbing the implications. For most of them, war was a defining characteristic of their cultures. It was how they expanded, how they secured resources, how they ensured their survival. The idea of choosing not to engage in war when one held the upper hand was alien. "Consider this," Tack continued. "A human fleet arrives at a contested planet. Their technology is unmatched, their soldiers highly trained. They could easily decimate the opposing forces, claim the planet, and move on. But instead, they send diplomats. They seek a peaceful resolution, offering trade agreements, mutual cooperation, even assistance in development. The other species sees this as weakness and launches an attack. The humans defend themselves, but do not retaliate with full force. They subdue, but do not destroy. They offer peace again, and eventually, the other side relents. The humans gain a new ally, not through domination, but through restraint, Tak's disbelief was palpable. Why? Why would they do that? They could have taken the planet, the resources, everything, with no risk of reprisal. Because they understand something fundamental, Tak said, his voice softening. That the true strength of a civilization lies not in its ability to destroy, but in its ability to build, to create lasting bonds, to elevate others instead of subjugating them. They have learned that mercy in the long run is far more powerful than fear. The young SDHN warrior was visibly struggling with the concept. His entire life had been shaped by the idea that might makes right, that war was the ultimate expression of a species' strength. The notion that humans avoided war out of mercy, out of a desire to prevent unnecessary suffering, was almost incomprehensible. But what if they're wrong? Tak pressed, his voice tinged with desperation. What if their mercy is taken advantage of? What if their enemies grow stronger, eventually overtaking them? Tak smiled, a knowing look in his many eyes. But that's where you misunderstand, Tak. Humans are not naive. They are fully aware of the risks. But they also know that a galaxy ruled by fear and aggression is a fragile one. By fostering cooperation, by showing mercy, they create a network of allies who share in their vision of a peaceful galaxy. And if ever a species does rise to challenge them, well, the humans are always prepared. The professor paused, letting his words sink in. Make no mistake, Tak. Humans are capable of great violence, but they choose to wield their power carefully, with restraint. They are not pacifists, they are strategists. They understand that the true cost of war is not just in lives or resources, but in the very soul of a civilization. And they refuse to pay that price unless absolutely necessary. Human command ship. Coke stared out the viewport at the twinkling expanse of stars. The lessons he had learned during this mission swirled in his mind, reshaping his understanding of strength, power, and diplomacy. The humans, with their strange mix of restraint and preparedness, had shown him a path that was as alien as it was inspiring. Back aboard his scout vessel, Coke convened with his crew. They were curious and anxious, eager to hear about his encounter with the humans. Coke addressed them with a newfound sense of conviction. The humans, he began, his voice steady, are not what we believed. They are not weak, nor are they naive. They are powerful in ways we never considered, and their mercy is not a flaw, but a calculated strategy. His officers exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, a grizzled veteran named Tarek, spoke up. Mercy? Strategy? Coke, these are not the principles that built our empire. Strength is dominance. Power is control. How can mercy lead to anything but vulnerability? Coke nodded, anticipating the resistance. I thought the same, Tarek. But I have seen their power firsthand. They wield it with precision, not recklessness. They could dominate the galaxy if they chose to, but they build alliances instead. And through those alliances, they secure a strength that is more enduring than any fleet. Tarek scoffed. And what if their allies betray them? What then? Mercy is a gamble, Coke. Perhaps, Coke admitted, his voice softening. But it is a gamble they take with eyes wide open. They are prepared for betrayal. Their strength is not diminished by their restraint. If anything, it grows. The crew fell silent, the weight of Coke's words settling over them. The implications were profound, challenging the deeply ingrained beliefs of their culture. Coke could see the skepticism in their faces, but he could also see a spark of curiosity, the first glimmer of understanding. In the weeks that followed, Coke's reports to the SDHN Empire sparked heated debates among the ruling council. Many dismissed his findings as human propaganda, while others, intrigued, called for further investigation. The idea that strength could coexist with mercy was a concept that divided the empire, forcing them to confront their own values. As for Coke, he became an advocate for a new path, one that drew inspiration from the humans' example. His voice was not always welcome, but it was persistent, and over time, It began to influence a small but growing faction within the empire. These progressive thinkers argued that the relentless pursuit of domination was unsustainable, that the galaxy offered opportunities for growth through cooperation, not just conquest. Years later, Koch would stand as a diplomat representing the SDHN Empire in negotiations with the humans. The experience aboard the human command ship had left an indelible mark on him, shaping his vision for a future where his people could thrive not through fear, but through unity. As he shook hands with Admiral Lawrence once more, Koch felt a deep sense of purpose. The path ahead would not be easy, but it was one worth pursuing. Together, their species could build a galaxy where strength was measured not by the destruction one could inflict, but by the peace one could create. And so, under the vast expanse of stars, the seeds of a new era were sown, one where mercy and strength walked hand in hand, guiding the galaxy toward a brighter, more unified future.